Hi everyone, and welcome to this masterclass on resilience. Now, we're going to explore resilience in a different way to what you might be used to. Less about bounce back, less about, finding peace, and actually something more concrete and useful. So, without any further ado, I'm going to share my screen and then give you a little bit more context about the definitions. Okay, great. Now you can see my screen. We're going to define resilience. So, I said it's less about bounce back, and we've got a particular definition. So, let's just go with the standard definition found on Google. So you've got two here. Number one, the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties, i.e., toughness. Okay. The second definition they give, and they use the analogy of like a spring. So the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape, elasticity. So effectively, what they're saying with the second one is the bounce back, to like a spring to bounce back to shape, right? And the first one, sorry, is to withstand. So to have the ability to be strong and to withstand. Now, my definition is slightly different to both of them. I'm going to read it out. Resilience. Not so much a mood, not bounce back. Resilience is remembering well-being is constant, even in the darkest times. So it's less about kind of bouncing back to clarity and feeling happy and being strong. It's knowing that even in the bleakest times, there's a part of you that remains whole, unfazed, untarnished, completely whole, always intact. Now, what that does is when you're experiencing hardship, if you know deep in yourself that you're okay, that yes, this is shit, this is hard. Like, I'm experiencing a lot of voices right now. I'm in the darkest time of my life, but I'm okay. This can't take away what's actually mine in my innate well-being. Innate just means something that's built in. And by well-being, I'm going to define that as well. We just mean, that grounded, okay enough feeling you feel when you're your best self. You know, I don't mean anything fancy by well-being. What qualities do you feel when you're your best self? Happiness, joy, gratitude. You don't necessarily feel them because of anything or anyone. You just feel them because that's who you are. When you haven't got that clouds of overthinking. And yes, my program can help, clear that overthinking so you have more well-being. But we're always going to get our challenges in life. We're always going to stumble. We're always going to encounter hardships of one kind or another. And that's why resilience is so important. The ability to know that your well-being is constant. Because the power in this is that even if everything is shit right now, you've still got control because your well-being is still there and you can anchor in that. That gives you stability. That gives you groundedness. Because then you're not only okay in the good times, you're okay in the bad times too. That's the secret. Okay, let's move on. So, there are lots of barriers to a calm, content life. It could be a financial worry, it could be a change at work, a loss of a loved one, whatever it will be. There are many different circumstances in life which look like they're going to threaten our well-being. Okay, and this is why resilience is so important, right? Just going to go over again as well why the voices come about. And this is important for resilience as well. So, stress and pressure, unmet emotional pain mean we're coping harder. And when we cope harder, that builds that pressure, and eventually, with multiple of these difficult situations, that can build into unmet pressure, unmet strain, unmet tension, and eventually, when the system can't cope anymore, it's a system overload, it can lead to hearing voices. Okay, this is a brief summary of how we can quiet down and come back to clarity. But I want to say, guys, this exact video isn't so much about doing that. This exact video is about when you're in the thick of it, when you're feeling shit, when you are like in the rain, so to speak. How can you dance in the rain? How can you have the ability to withstand that pressure and actually be okay? Be like, I don't like this right now, but what can I learn from it? What's really going on? Because when we stay curious, when we and I talk about this on my Instagram too. People say, oh, Just accept your feelings, then they'll move on. Now that's got a grain of truth to it. But if you don't know that your feelings can't harm your well-being one bit, you won't be able to accept them. When you know that one, they can't harm your well-being one bit, and two, they carry vital information about why you're stuck, then you can kind of be curious. Oh, I wonder what's really going on here. I don't like this, but fundamentally, I'm okay. I wonder, what have I attached my well-being to? What if I said I can only be okay if Y happens, if X happens? So, here I've said, on the road through life, we're going to get our difficulties of one kind or another. That's a human given, unfortunately. And resilience allows us to stay steady for the next time, okay? That's what allows us to stay steady. There's a wonderful quote here by Jonathan, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but let's say Haidt. Prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child. What that means is, if we can give children, and this applies to anyone really, but if we give children the tools they need to handle life, the capacities to thrive, things are going to happen. You're going to get your knocks, you're going to get your challenges, be it a divorce, be it a death of a loved one, be it an illness, be it whatever. We're going to get our knocks in life. And that's what happens on the road through life. But when we change ourselves, when we actually see that we have all of those tools inside ourselves, we have the well-being, we have the resilience, we have all those tools we need to handle life. And that's the ultimate shift. Because if we have all of those tools, we're more than enough able to cope with life, to thrive, to do it well. We don't need to change circumstances the whole time to be a desired way. If we can actually see that we're okay regardless, then that's a real step in the right direction, because that's what true well-being is. Not always tinkering around and kind of get everything perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. Of course, it'd be wonderful if everything could go according to plan, but real resilience is being okay even when things aren't ideal. As I said, dancing in the rain. So I've got a little bit more of a visual here, going over about well-being and how you can activate that as well, is what we're going to discuss soon. So when you know that your well-being is innate, that just means built in. Yes, it can be covered up, but it can never be lost, damaged, or broken. You have all those tools that I just spoke about inside of you, and they're going to help you on the road through life. No matter what life throws at you, you have everything you need inside to thrive. That's why it says you can be resilient in any situation. So we have three people here. Well, really, it's the same person. This person here, they're experiencing their well-being sun. They're happy, they're free, they're like, oh, I've got this. They're in a good place. Now this person has got a little bit of cloud cover. Not so good, but not so bad either. They're chilling, they're coping, let's say. Maybe some voices, but nothing too bad. This person, their dad's just died, got cut off in traffic, they've had a bad day at work, they were late, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and to top it off, they experienced some voices. But can you see something interesting here? You might not be able to see it. In all of them, the person is smiling. And that's because they know that inside of them, their well-being cannot be taken from them whatsoever. So even in the darkest time of our lives, that person can see that actually, well, I don't like this. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. But my sun is still here behind the clouds. Yeah? That's the difference. It's not saying, there's nothing, of course we want to remove the clouds, and we can do that with my program to experience more well-being. But there's also a time and a place for actually being like, I don't like this, but fundamentally I'm okay. And if we can anchor in that part of ourselves, right, that's amazing, because then we've changed gears from, wanting everything to be perfect to actually having that resilience to thrive regardless. And how do we activate that resilience? It's activated when we know that well-being is always there, whether we feel it or not. Okay? People think, as I said at the beginning, resilience is about bouncing back or being strong. My definition is, just to go over that, it's not about a mood, it's not about bouncing back. It's about knowing that your well-being is always there, even in the darkest of times. Okay, so if this interests you, if you want to learn more about resilience, if you just want a bit more cloud cover even gone, we can do that. We can get you more well-being, right? But it's equally important to be okay in the hard times, because life is going to throw some stuff at you. Everyone gets their fair share of shit in life, and if we can be okay with that, if we can be like, I don't like this, but what's really going on, that can get us more here. But there's definitely power in being okay with things that aren't okay. Not that we shouldn't, if someone's been rude to us, we shouldn't deal with it, or an emergency, we shouldn't change it. Of course, we should do all the right things, yeah? But if we can't change certain things, like maybe we got cut off in traffic, right? That's a circumstance that just happened. We can be resilient. We can be okay with it. It doesn't have to ruin our day, and we can go forward. Hope that helped. Let me know in the comments. Sense to you, if you want to learn a little bit more about my clarity blueprint, about how I help people A, feel more resilient, but also have more well-being so that they can remove those clouds, and B, be resilient in the tough times, DM me a message. I'm at Adam Gross Therapy on Instagram. Comment down below, shoot me a message, and we can start up a plan going forward. A roadmap. Best case, we can get a roadmap, we can get a plan in place to support you. Worst case, you spend 20-30 minutes with me, and I can also map a way forward for you, even if it's not working with me directly. All the best.